So the idea of the strat is to hold Cigar Shop. Now to do that, you need one castle barricade on the big door, and you're usually going to see a mute or a smoke playing behind a shield inside Cigar Shop. Now I'm going to get into more specifics later on how you can hold this when it comes to shield placements where you can play, but that's kind of the basic. You just hold Cigar Shop, and usually they're going to have 2 to 3 ADSs, maybe some 1i discs, but the only real universal thing about this strat is the castle barricade. Everything else, there's a lot of variety. As an attacker, I would say the best way to push Cigar Shop hold is to try and get in Cigar and to also take care of the castle barricade in Cigar Shop. Now, a lot of teams are just going to push into Cigar Shop. They're going to burn the ADSs from Red Hatch or New Hatch, and they're going to take out the shield and try and frag out the person in Cigar Shop before taking Cigar control. But if you go for the Castle Barricade in Cigar, usually there's only going to be Lamai discs protecting it. It's going to be a lot less utility to breach it open. And when you breach it open, it almost forces the gunfight for the player in Cigar Shop, and their entire hold is gone. You can shoot the ADSs, you can find the player much easier, and you can isolate them, and it's a lot easier to get those trades and to get those picks when that castle barricade is gone. And not only, you can also clear out the mute jammers too that are in Cigar Shop, if you can see from the west balcony windows in Cafe, the cigar windows. A lot of people will try to clear ADSs from the hatch like this, but this isn't entirely reliable. You can't really ensure that the ADSs are gonna get burnt. You can also go and repel and get flashes through the drone hole here. You can also cook a grenade and throw it through this hole. Next, I'm going to be going over some tips for holding Cigar and various options that you have when holding Cigar. Now, if you're not using a shield, you have a few options on where you can play. Some people will just sit back here at the jewelry, standing, crouching, proning, and just try and hold Cigar Shop. As you can see, this angle here, once the attackers push in, it's kind of like a hard angle to see. If you're peeking the jewelry, it's kind of hard to see people behind all that glass. And so some people will also play here. If you stand right here, you can't get shot through this hard surface, the marble or whatever. You can also play here on the side. You can prone or just play in here anywhere. Usually you won't get wall banged, but this is destructible, so be careful playing in here. And another option is to just play out here in the open. Now you can get up close with the shotgun, but be careful of this hatch. If you get too close, it's about right there, I think. The skylight can shoot your feet. Not skylight, I mean this hatch. But you can still play close up with your shotgun, or you can even just be out in the open. People won't always expect you to be in this spot, and if you have a lot of mute jammers in here, it might be a lot more helpful with getting picks, because usually people are going to expect you to be around this area. When you're doing the cigar hold, you're always going to have this castle barricade here, because you don't want people to get on this window and have these lines of sight directly into Cigar Shop, or on this window too, which totally makes it unplayable in here. So that's why this barricade is a must-have. Now, an optional spot that is not very commonly used. This is a nice strategy, but you place one barricade here, you prep it. 1, 2, all the way to 11, right? So, a lot of the times, the attackers are going to hold the skylight and watch this doorway. And so prepping it means you can get out and you can surprise the attackers, essentially. Like, they're not going to know when you're trying to escape, and they might not even expect you to escape from this doorway if it's castle barricaded off, right? And plus, it also blocks skylight angles onto the floor in this general area. So you can kind of play around this area a lot better. So that's why I like the castle barricade here. And once it pops, you can run out, and the attackers won't expect it, because they wouldn't have known that this was prepped, obviously. When it comes to placing the shield in Cigar Shop, you have two options that are usually used. The most common is to put a shield right here, but there's a little bit of disadvantage to this. Now obviously it's next to this drone hole, so that's why you have to put it a bit far back. Unless, well, obviously you can put it farther up, but you don't want to expose yourself to that drone hole. But also, if this castle barricade were here, I've seen people get shot under this castle barricade, and you can see the shield right there, so the feet would be right there, and that would be a really easy pick for anybody shooting under the castle barricade. Now, this shield here is another really common spot to use. And the advantages to this is it looks more directly at red door. It's a bit like safer. You can kind of maneuver in here as well in this little pocket and go back here at the jewelry. But from the skylight, you can kind of see a small area here. And so you're kind of restricted on movement, and you can't move around a lot when you're in this area without getting shot in the feet from the skylight. But as mentioned earlier on how you can prep the castle barricade here, that kind of negates having to be worried about that. So that's another option here. If you want to do that, you can vote the extra utility to get a good shield placement right here. When it comes to placing the shield in Cigar Shop, you have two options that are usually used. The most common is to put a shield right here, but there's a little bit of disadvantage to this. Now obviously it's next to this drone hole, so that's why you have to put it a bit far back. Unless, well, obviously you can put it farther up, but you don't want to expose yourself to that drone hole. But also, if this castle barricade were here, I've seen people get shot under this castle barricade, and you can see the shield right there, so the feet would be right there, and that would be a really easy pick for anybody shooting under the castle barricade. Now, this shield here is another really common spot to use. And the advantages to this is it looks more directly at red door. It's a bit like safer. You can kind of maneuver in here as well in this little pocket and go back here at the jewelry. But from the skylight, you can kind of see a small area here. And so you're kind of restricted on movement, and you can't move around a lot when you're in this area without getting shot in the feet from the skylight. But as mentioned earlier on how you can prep the castle barricade here, that kind of negates having to be worried about that. So that's another option here. If you want to do that, you can vote the extra utility to get a good shield placement right here. When it comes to this hatch, there's a couple options you have here. You can leave it soft and do nothing with it, which is completely fine. Or you can reinforce it, which is also fine. It allows you to play here without the worry of this getting destroyed. Or you can open it. Now, opening it is an option. You can escape through here, but I would not recommend opening it because the attackers can easily just hold this from outside this window, right? They can easily hold the hatch drop. So what you want to do is, when you're holding this position in Cigar Shop, the ADSs are getting burnt that you should have in here. Your smokes are going off, right? You're getting pressured and you're ready to just fall out. So you just pull out your shotgun, you open the hatch, and then you drop immediately. Now they might be holding this, they might. But if you open the hatch immediately at the beginning of the round, the attackers are going to know that you're planning to drop that hatch. So at the very minimum, you can surprise them on when that drop is going to happen. And also, you don't necessarily have to drop there. If you do prep the castle barricade on this doorway, as mentioned earlier, you can escape. Because a lot of people will hold this skylight and hold this doorway right here, because they know that the player in Cigar Shop has two escapes. This hatch, or this doorway. So if they run out here, they can get shot from the skylight very easily. But when this castle barricade is here, and you prep it, the same concept applies here. It's surprise. They don't know when it's going to happen. And so they might not even have a person on the skylight holding this. And so you can just go out and then boom. But if you are escaping from here, that is another thing to think about, is where you're going to go. Now this is a really common spot to go. It's a safe spot you can play, but if they're downstairs, maybe not. You can run to the freezer, which is obviously more exposed to the skylight, or I've seen people run all the way back here and just sit right here. Or even farther if you have the opportunity to run all the way back to cocktail, right? Now it's your option here with how you want to escape, but that's it. One of the great benefits of a cigar shop hold is that you can use these mute jammers, which are extremely powerful. Now, one second as I set these up, I'll show you what these do. These two mute jammers cover this whole wall at red. And this mute jammer cannot be shot from this window, despite how close it is to the window. And this mute jammer can only be taken out by a frag from this hatch or from this drone hole, which people will toss frags from this window through that drone hole, so be cautious of that. So this is extremely powerful. It essentially makes it so the attackers cannot go through this wall unless they have a Maverick, or if they frag these mute jammers, which wastes precious utility. Anyway, and you can also place mute jammers in here, which are protected behind the hard surface down here. And so having an assortment of mute jammers like this, you can place one mute jammer there, even get a mute jammers back here. I've seen people place mute jammers here, just right in the center of this door. And so you can make it very difficult to drone cigar shop, because there's a lot of good mute jammer spots, and also those two mute jammers especially are extremely valuable in delaying time on this wall. Another reason to run the strategy is it's complemented by and complements a common strategy, which is the pixel hold with Wumai. Now, basically, you want to protect the castle barricade that would be right here, and Wumai can do that with his discs. He can place them in spots like that, which would catch the ash charges or flashes or whatever that go for this castle barricade, nades, etc., right? And since Jaeger's usually going to put 2 to 3 ADSs in Cigar Shop, you really want to use Wumai to kind of reinforce this whole hold in general. Because once the attackers burn through all the utility in here, they have to go through this next. And so with the attackers already very low on utility, this Wumai pixel hold reinforces that and really drains their utility. And so this is, as you can see, plays into the meta a lot with utility soaking. There was even an uncommon strategy where Fav Gaming put 2 people in Cigar Shop. The attackers didn't realize there were 2 because there were mute jammers all in Cigar Shop, and the attackers simply thought there was just one, which was Smoke behind his shield. And so I think you could see how this would be a very useful strategy, as the attackers wouldn't have the intel on the second defender, and that would instantly give that mute hiding in Cigar Shop a huge jump on the attackers. But that's all I had to say for this video. If you learned something, give the video a like, and if you want to see more content like this, subscribe. Toodles.